So disgusting. So we talk about the play that we took today, all right, HBIO and ZEO. And I want to just explain, show you guys a little bit about how we might have how there are certain plays where you can just kind of write the trend and understand where it's what we know what's going on, so on and so forth. Okay, so we go through the first play first, which is ALZN, right? So ALZN in the morning had a pretty insane run. So generally for me, whenever there's a huge run on the ticker, right? We were in early on this right around 360s. I told you guys to have a stop loss around 350. We went down to 392 before it went back up again. I mean, that's pretty good, right? So now the first thing I want to see is, look, you can see that the price is steadily, riding the 21 EMA trend line. Now, of course, it doesn't mean that you don't take profits, right? You still take profits, but for the remaining shares, maybe you like to leave 20%, maybe you like to leave 30%, right? It's completely up to you, right? The first cost of business, or your first sign, is for you to see if this is actually breaking down from the 21 EMA trend line. At least on the initial move, you can see that this thing is respecting it, right? So now at this point of time, even if it breaks down from this 21 EMA trend line, it shouldn't matter for you too much, because even if this breaks down from the 21 EMA trend line, it's still around $7, right? If you guys are in with me on this around 360s or 350s, okay, right? This is way above our entry. We don't have to conform to this intraday trend break, because a trend breakdown doesn't necessarily mean it's bearish. It just means that it needs to form another new setup for another move to the upside, right? You can see this thing did that. But obviously, when a ticker do break down from the trend, it's always good for you to reposition yourself and identify a new trend and structure to play. Now, the reason why I did not really take any sort of trade on this over here is because I don't really like, I would say, I don't really like taking plays that is already so high up, right? And I think I did explain to you guys that this news over here for the news over here for ALZN isn't exactly the best, right? Let me share the screen again. Sorry about that. Okay, here we go. All right. Okay, so the news for ALZN isn't exactly the best, right? The news for ALZN over here isn't exactly the best, so that's why I'm not really that interested in this move or whatnot. Now, when this thing start to pull back, reverse and stuff like that, I was thinking maybe there's a chance, right? There's a chance that we might see a surprise move over here. Right? There's a chance that we might see a surprise move over here. But the issue is, right? The problem is that again, this ticker for me, right? This ticker for me is more of like it's a promo play number one. And this is way too high, right? And again, the news isn't great. I feel like we have a lot more better setups with the setups like ZEO, where they did make a move in the morning. We traded this, and there's a lot of leftover liquidity over here that potentially we can grab, right? And I think you guys can see we had a very nice EOD move on this to 356. I mean, it's not anything big, but considering whatever is happening in the current markets right now, I think this is pretty awesome. But this is what I was actually watching, right, with ZEO. So that's the reason why I did not really take any entries on ALZN after. The first alert was at one, rode it all the way, and that's pretty much it, right? And then next up was kind of SPRO. Okay, so for me, SPRO, I'm still in. I explained to you guys just now the reason as to why I'm taking this, right? So look, we did have a nice little breakout EOD, right? We did have a nice little breakout EOD to 227, okay? But price is still kind of holding above this level over here. Now, on the 10-minute chart, okay, we are, okay, let me just do this over here. Okay, we're still currently flagging over here. It's a very extended flag. We're still currently flagging over here. It's a very extended flag. So, and if you look at the daily chart over here, right, we do have a potential day trade inset bar set up for tomorrow. Now, it's not a guarantee we're gonna make a move, right? So long as we do not lose 210, I think we have every single possibility to do so. But if not, then we might have to, close it off. Again, I have 50% left for this. If we lose 210, I'll close out the rest under 210. If not, I'll continue running the rest, and hopefully we can get a day trade set up tomorrow for a push. All right, it did take some profits in the morning at 230s, but again, you can see downstream breakout, couldn't break out from it. I think it's probably because it wants to, because see, if we make new highs today or go up even higher today, then it would destroy the structure, right? It would destroy the structure of the day trade inside bar, right? It would destroy the structure of the day trade inside bar. So that's the reason why, right? That's the reason why I'm pretty okay. I'm pretty okay with this, right? It's low volume consolidation. Look at the volume disparity over here. I'm pretty okay with this. But so long as we do have like a nice volume push tomorrow on this, I honestly do think we might see a very nice move. All right, don't forget there's still a lot of huge resistance on this 247 level, but we have not yet broken down. So we might have some chance tomorrow. Okay, no guarantees though. All right, I'm just trading the chart. Whatever the chart's telling me, I'm taking that shit. All right, so now I want to talk about. So look, see again, trading isn't about trying to get everything right. I think that's impossible. But what you should do when you trade is at least try to manage your risk and see if you can cut losses on certain tickers quick, so that you don't have to take such a huge or massive loss. So NEOB, for example, where I saw it wasn't something that I really liked. The volume wasn't all that good. It's forming some kind of toothbrush charts, but it had some nice volume coming in. So I took the 130 over here, right? But it was way too slow. So since it was way too slow for me, right, I had to close it off at 129. Now it wasn't a green trade. Okay, again, I am not. It's impossible for you to be 100% green all the time. But with risk management is what keeps you in this game in the long run. If your trade isn't great, if the trade doesn't work out, and let's say if you think it's slow, if you need to cut it early, please do so. Right? There is no merit in holding on to any of this stock. Right? No one's going to congratulate you for holding it or give you a medal for holding it for 5 months or stuff like that. Right? No one's going to congratulate you for that. Okay, just know that if it doesn't work out, just get out. Because some of these players over here, when they start breaking down, no one is ever going to even look at them anymore. And you guys know that, right? Today we trade Zio. Okay, today we trade at HBIO. I can for sure guarantee you no one's going to care about HBIO tomorrow. Right? Yesterday we traded ASBP, right? No one cares about this shit today anymore. Right? It's all the same stuff. Okay? So that is definitely something to kind of keep an eye out for, right? Don't overstay. If something doesn't work out, don't hesitate to cut, right? Don't hesitate to cut, because it's always something that you can get back in if it starts looking good again. How many times did I get in and out from Zio today? Right? So look, over here, I got in the morning, right? Over here, I got into the morning with you guys over here. Look at that. 284, 935, right here. 284, right? We went all the way to 315. And this was, again, part of the plan, right? We couldn't break 320. We rejected 320 on the dot. You see that? And it went down. And I had to get out because, again, there is no guarantee that this is going to bounce off here. We don't know. Look, I can't have this uptrend over here. I cannot have this uptrend over here until I see this action happening, right? So if I were to draw this, okay, this is all I see, right? When we trade, this is all we have. We can't look to the right. We can only see what's on the left. How do I draw my trend line? Am I supposed to draw it like that? If I draw it like that, then, and I want to extend this all the way to the right, extend this all the way to the right, then it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, right? It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. So you have to get out. You cannot assume that because that this is where it's going to bounce off from. You can only take it when it showed bounces, right? Then that's where you can justify your trend line. And then you can see how perfect the thing was bouncing off. Even over here, okay, even over here, on the second entries and stuff, when I gave you guys for Zio, for the 310 breakout, I wanted the 310 breakout, but it was a little bit too slow, so I think I kind of got you guys, let's see, 291 entry first, or earlier entry at 1105, which is right around here, right? The reason why is because, again, we have a mini downtrend breakout, plus a multiple retest of the 200 EMA into a very strong breakout. I like it a lot. So we had a move around 5-6 minutes later to 330, and this is where it created a downtrend. Right? Again, see, I couldn't have known this because at the point of time, This is all I have. But now that I have this rejection, I could create this downtrend line right now. I could use this as my pivot. But way before, I couldn't. I didn't have any data for this. But we had a nice move, regardless. But did I get out? I have to. When it breaks down like that, I have to get out. Right? When it breaks down like that, I have to get. Did I say I get out? Yeah, under 285, right? And we lost structure, so I had to get out because everything was dropping. And again, right? So I know that I have a trend line over here. Okay, but you see, look, just because your trend line is on this doesn't mean that it's going to bounce, right? Trend line isn't forever. It could break down too. So if it doesn't work out, right? If let's say this trend line doesn't work out, right? Then what do? You have to cut. But the thing is, for me, I raised my stops up. Why? Because my stop at the point of time, I was basing it on this 200 EMA. Price clearly broke down from this 200 EMA over here. I had to close out the rest of my position. And then now I can reevaluate. If let's say now see at the point of time I'm looking at this, right? This is my thought process, yeah. So the trend is breaking down right now. Okay, so my current intraday trend is breaking down. This is all I see. My current intraday trend is breaking down. Now, what I want to see is, can this candle bounce off my current trend line? If it does, it gives me very strong confluence for a potential EOD push using this as my risk. And I look, okay, now, what do I want? Now I want to see if this thing can bounce off the trend line, right? And I wait. Okay, again, like I said, the more price action you have, the more patient you are, the more information you have, the better decision you're going to make. Right, so I wait for it. I wait for it. I see, some bit of curling action going on, right? EMAs are starting to converge a little bit, starting to curl back up again. Now that's where it gives me the confirmation that, okay, right, this trend line works. Now I want to see if I can get a trend line dip again for another ad, and then I'll look for an EOD power hour push, which is what came out this plan over here. We didn't hit 365, unfortunately, but doesn't mean that you should be red. We did hit 355. Okay, yeah. So obviously the trend has broken down right now. So I'm done with it, right? Again, tomorrow's a new day. There's new opportunities. There's really no need for you to kind of panic or whatever the case is. No. So yeah, this is pretty much all I have. Any questions? Any questions or anything that you guys want me to cover today, or any sort of plays? Let me see what this is. Oh, MPWR just pumped. What's going on there? This there's no news over here. This is after hours movement. So I'm not really a huge fan about stuff like this, all right? I prefer proper setups and volume, okay, or more organic structure, but still a very nice move though. But yeah, so any questions? I don't think there's much today, right? Oh, right, HBIO. Another thing about talking about trend. So look, you see, over here, HBIO had an initial move. Now, obviously, there is no news on this, right? There's absolutely no reason to be taking this, right? But I think in the morning, there was no reason for anything at all. When this thing started moving over here, zero was breaking down already, right? ALZN was something I wasn't ever going to touch. Okay, so with this price going down over here, okay, and the reclaimed VWAP, I mean, you could say that this is kind of the classic, ABCD pattern at this point of time. And we also have a lot of long upper wicks, as you can see over here, which price is rejecting from this baseline, right? From this trend line, price is rejecting all the way down, right? So right over here, you can see that we have a downtrend breakout. And then from there, we went all the way up, right? From there, we went all the way up. Okay, we had a nice move to 62 cents. Now, most of you guys over here might start to close off the rest of the position. But what did I tell you guys? Right, when the trend doesn't break down, okay, ride the rest of the runners. If it breaks down, I'll look for re-entries for sure. But if we can ride our trend, why not? So obviously over here right now, we don't really have a clear trend. Okay, we don't really have a clear trend on this. Okay, you can see Windows 47 hard stops, right? Now Y47, I think at the point of time, this was my 5-minute base action. Yep, 47 over here was a 5-minute basing action. So I didn't want the price to be underneath that. Right, so if you look at the 5-minute chart, even though the price did pull back a little bit over here, we're still well within the trend. All right, we formed a very nice 5-minute hammer candle here, and then we went back up. I mean, this is a very nice setup right here. Look at this. Right, 1 minute is not going to show you this. Right, the 1 minute chart is not going to show you this over here, but the 5-minute tells you a lot more. But another thing you guys can identify in the 1 minute is that price went all the way down. Sure. 5-minute structure is still holding on 47 cents. You can see this is where the price was, separating as well, bouncing off it, trying to base a support, which I'm going to stop loss under 47 cents. Okay. But you can see over here, this is where we start to establish a trend, a 50 EMA bounce. Now, subsequently, whenever price hits that dark blue line, what happened? Until it broke down from trend. So if you guys are asking me, right, how do I write my runners and stuff, right? If there's a clear trend indicated, use that. Look, this trend was established. Now, it's not like 50 EMA is going to bounce, right? It has to be established, right? This was established as a bounce over here. Second bounce over here, which confirms the trend. And look, the third time price hits this 50 EMA, what happens? Bounce from 70 cents all the way to 94 cents. But when price loses the structure here, this current trend is done. You have to look for a new structure. Can you see how quick the sell-off is after? Now, this is where you have to look for a new structure, right? This structure over here is done. Now you have to look for something new. Yeah. Okay. So same thing applies for SBAN. Sorry. Sometimes if let's say you cannot see anything on the 1 minute chart, all right, it's a little choppy, then extend it out. Use the 5 minute. More consolidated price actions going to give you a clearer picture. I will show you guys where this trend line is going to be at, or where the established trend line is going to be at. Look, price, never generally lost the light blue line over here. So anytime, to be honest, right, you can see right here, price went down, bounced off, went down over here, bounced up again. I could take some entries over here at $43 and keep a tight stop loss under 43, right, because I'm trying to write the trend line, and that could still be good. And again, the reason why I could have taken my entry at $75 over here and have my stop loss under $72 as a lotto trade. It's a $3 risk, right? It doesn't have to be lotto, but if you're okay risking $3, why not? Look, it still bounced up to 106. So long as this 5-minute blue line over here doesn't break down, I don't see a reason why I should close out the rest of my lottos over here. I will continue writing this, but when it breaks down from this, right, from this line, does it mean that it's bearish? No. Right, it just means that the current trend is broken. It is not a good setup anymore. You have to wait to see if it's going to continue to form a bullish setup after, or is it actually going to continue a bearish downside move? Because the trend just tells you one thing. Breaking down from trend doesn't mean it's bearish, right? Breaking down from trend doesn't mean it's bearish. Okay, it just means that it needs time to form another trend. That's it. Or it might not form another trend. Then in that case, then yes, it's going all the way down. But when it breaks from trend, you have to react. You cannot sit in it and hope for it to, form something else, because, if the thing breaks down from trend, there's a chance it may just go all the way down. And you don't want to be that person sitting in it at $50 or $78 and seeing this at 50. Okay. All right. So that's pretty much all I have. I don't think there's a whole lot today as well, to be honest, but pretty good, slow and steady stuff over here, I would say. So yeah. Any questions? I think you guys can. If you guys want to use your mic, you guys can. If you guys want to type it inside the chat. I can't send messages because you're not a member of the chat. What? I'm the organizer. I don't know why I can't send messages in. Can you guys type in the chat? Oh my God, Microsoft Teams is I can't send messages because you're not a member of the chat. What the fuck is this?
It's not allowing any typing.
Oh yeah, I don't know why. It was okay just now, but okay, sure, yeah. If you guys have any questions, you guys can, drop me a DM if you guys want, right? I can answer them, or if you guys want to use a mic and talk right now, you guys can do that too. Yeah, I can't type in the chat as well. That's strange. So any questions? Man, I thought this is new to me, guys. This is the reason why never used Teams before. I need to kind of figure out how to do this shit.
Yep, I had a quick question. Can you hear me?
Yeah, what's up?
I know your account and risk parameters are going to be slightly different than mine and everyone else's in the room. But like, let's say you had a $30,000 account. How many shares ballpark of like HBIO in that 50 to 55 cent range would you have bought based on your risk parameters and how you trade? I'm just curious, just from a practical standpoint and being responsible but being aggressive on a good setup, if that question makes sense.
Okay, so first off, I wouldn't say the HBI was a great setup because again, there was no catalyst to it, right? I would just say it wasn't like a great setup, but it wasn't like a bad setup, right? It was a setup for sure, right? It was definitely a setup. You know, I would say for me, okay, so for the risk, right? Anything that it's gonna be the same, okay? It's all proportionate to percentage. So for me, I have a rule, right? If you ask me how many shares I buy, my answer to you is I truly don't know. Generally, when I look at cent stock like this, right, I usually don't really like trading cent stocks because it's very hard to manage risk when it comes to cent stocks, right? Can you imagine if you guys buy a 2 cent stock? If it goes up by 1 cent, that's a 50% move. But for you to make good money off a 50% move, you have to buy a lot of shares, right? Because it's a 1 cent stock. But then if let's say it goes down, and since you have a lot of shares, you're also going to be losing a lot. So I don't really like to manage risk. It's very hard to manage risk when it comes to very cheap stocks like this. But as a rule, my entry was at 50 cents. My stop loss is 45 cents, right? So that means that I have a 5 cents risk, right? So that means that if it doesn't work out, I'll be losing 5 cents a share. Now, if like, as you said, if you have a $30,000 account, for me, if I feel like this is a okay setup, right? My baseline is a 1% risk on my portfolio, which is around $300. So with a $300 risk with a $300 risk on my portfolio, and this trade is going to give me a 5 cents per share loss, then I will be able to buy 6,000 shares over here at 50 cents thereabout. Because if I have 6,000 shares over here, if it doesn't work out, I'll lose $300, which is 1% of my portfolio. Right? I mentioned this before. Whenever I size in on something, I always make sure to size in based on how much I'm willing to risk instead of how much I'm going to make, because I need to protect myself if, let's say, it doesn't work out. Right? Because if I were to size in based on how much I am willing to make, right, then if it doesn't work out, I'm done. I'm gonna unknowingly blow up my account, and I don't want that to happen. All right. Another case is if you feel like this is a good setup, you like this trend line bounce, right? You like this wave, you like this accumulation, you like this, we can see over here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 candles of upper wicks, right? That means that price keeps trying to push down, but we never lost trend. So over here, you might think that, okay, you know what? I may want to increase my risk size over here. Then you can add additional 6,000 more shares. Because if it doesn't work out, you'll be losing $600 right now. Then from there, right, if you feel like this is a much better setup as the trade goes by, because I think I was in over here, but it didn't really do anything. I told you guys minimum 55 cents first, right? So we finally broke out and hit 57 over here, which is good. But at this point of time, if you feel like this is not a great setup, go with the baseline of 1% first, right? Won't ever go wrong. Right? 1% is a baseline. We don't want to go too low because it's not worth it after that, right? You don't want to start with too high as well because it's very hard for you to manage and adjust your risk after. So for me personally, I found that 1% is a sweet spot. And then from there, you can add on to that risk if you feel like this is going to be a better setup. Got it? Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate that because I know you've been very consistent with the 1% rule. I was just curious, just from a practical application, and then just as you're analyzing the trade, if
I would
if
say,
it's
sorry,
go
I
ahead.
would say that like I wouldn't say I'm very consistent at it. I try to keep myself within 1%, but because sometimes when you're trading momentum shares, right? And you wanna get this amount of shares, but because they do move really quick, right? You might not get filled up all your shares. Like because for me, I try to buy like 5,000 shares sometimes, but when the price moves too quick, maybe I get filled like 3,000 plus shares only, right?
Yep.
So I would just stick with it. If I only get 3,000 plus shares, fine. I'm not gonna average up and stuff like that. I'm just gonna stick with it and take that as a trade. But for yeah,
Yeah, no, that's a great answer. And then quick question too, with your, I'm always noticing that you have really good, like you really focus on sticking that entry point. And I know like on your messages during the day, you'll say, hey, if you buy it at the right point, you don't have to buy multiple times. And then you can sell on the strength and let it ride. That's one thing I've got to do better. And I've noticed that you're really focusing on like nailing that entry. Because if you nail the entry, then it's just like an exercise of managing the trade, which you're
yeah,
really focusing on in my short time on your channel.
yes,
So going back to like your specific entry, like I see the trend line break that occurred, right over like 53 cents. I know you bought it beforehand. Like you bought it about maybe 5 or 6 minutes beforehand. Um, I'm just, and I'm not critiquing. I'm just curious, like what did you see that made you enter at that particular point? Was it still that it was holding trend? Because it wasn't that clear to me why you bought it, but you still nailed it, if the question makes sense. And I'm not questioning the challenge. I'm questioning just to understand.
oh no, it's just because of there was a very nice VWAP reclaim over here. I mean, if you look at this if you look at this part over here, right? VWAP has been okay. Look, this okay. So again, like I said, this is not a great setup. There's no
Yep.
catalyst on this. Okay. Now the most recent news you can link back to this is Benchmark maintains speculative buy on Harvard Bioscience, lowest price target at $3. So when other traders trade this, okay, they look at the volume. This thing hits their scanners. They look at this. They see, okay, what's going on, right? They want to know. I mean, we always got to know what's going on. And the last thing, the only thing they can see at the point of time, right, based on the news wires, is this. Benchmark maintains speculative buy on Harvard Bioscience, lowest price target at $3. So people are gonna think, all right. So the lowest price target at $3. This thing has volume right now. All right, this is only at 47 cents. This is really cheap. But obviously, we don't want to buy into the first pump, right? So when the price goes down, this is where we want to start to see if this is able to form a base into a recovery, right? So you can sort of say this is more of like an ABC type setup, right? This is your A, this is your B, and then your B to C is over here, and your D is the breakout to the previous highs, right? But this reclaim of VWAP is a very nice candle, right? Look, we have a very nice base forming over here at 44 cents, right? Obviously, this trend line over here cannot be determined at the point of time, right? Because all we have is this. Okay, we always when we review our trades, there always has to be you always have to put yourself in the shoes where you don't know what's going on the right side, because that is what trading is, right? You would never be able to know what's going on the right side. But when you see a candle like that, right? No wicks, lower wick, right? No upper wicks over here. Very strong bullish candle pushing, breaking through VWAP over here when VWAP has been a significant level for this. And at the point of time, if you look through all your contenders of the market, I don't think there was anything running. Zero when this thing was running, it was already breaking down. If you realize or you remember, right? Zio was already breaking down, right? ALZN was just very messy. There was no structure. It was just going up and down very randomly, very arbitrary price action. There was no trend, no pattern. I don't want to touch something like this, right? So with all the circumstances at the point of time, looking at this price action over here and everything else, for me, this is the best option to take a trade at that point of time. Now, obviously, sometimes they could be perfect and go immediately, but sometimes it might go up and down like this, right? But it's always very important to try to stick to the plan as much as you can, because the stock market moves every single second, right? It's not going to sit there and wait for you to to be ready before it actually makes a move. And then from there, you can start to try to establish potential trends and see if it makes sense to you, right? Because you see over here, I couldn't have established this trend line, but when I saw this bounce on this, that's where I can have, okay, right, we're actually flagging. So, and to be honest, if I wanted to, I could just raise my stop loss under 47 cents at that point of time. If I feel like this breakout over here isn't going to work out, right? If it breaks out, but if it causes a false breakout and breaks down, I can just cut it at 47 cents too, instead of respecting my original 44 cents. Because we are flagging it attempted to break out, but it was a fake out. So I could raise my stops up. So instead of taking a 5 cents risk, I take a 3 cents risk, which reduces my risk. No, I still take a loss, but at least I control it.
That's a great answer. And would you say that VWAP reclaim was like the main factor for you purchasing at that time?
The candle as well. The candle that reclaimed the VWAP. It's not just reclaim of VWAP, it's the candle. The candle was very nice.
Okay.
I mean, this is a very nice candle. I mean, this is the ugliest candle. This is bullshit, right? But this one is good. I think there is a lot of time in this trade, right? In this particular trade where you see a lot of upper wicks rejection, right? When it's upper wicks, it means that sellers are trying to take control of the stock, and especially this one over here, when you have a super long upper wick, right? Right, buyers trying to take control of this trade, but sellers push it back down. But the thing is, you can see that the following trade, the following candle, we didn't break down. Actually, buyers stepped up. All right, so we're not, lacking buying strength over here. We're not lacking. It's not like sellers have full control on this, or we're playing tug of war for sure. But then, if they don't push us down, then this is what's going to happen. It's either this or that, right? When you take a trade, it's either you make money or you lose money. So, there is no other complicated way to explain this, right? The general sense is if you're inside a trade, if it works out, you make money. If it doesn't work out, you lose money, right? And you can see over here, the candlestick tells you a lot, right? Sellers keep trying to push us down, but we are not lacking buyers. So this setup at that point of time was still very strong, because we also
one other quick question. I really
hello, you cut off. Hello. Hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Really appreciate the patience with the detailed responses. Going back to that VWAP reclaim candle real quick.
Yeah.
I know in the past, and obviously buying a breakout on a 1 minute close is different than a VWAP candle, purchase. But is your general requirement acknowledging fluid situations exist? If you're generally like in the morning, if I'm looking for VWAP candle breaks, and like in this situation, you had a clear VWAP candle break.
Right.
Are you waiting for the candle to close
Yes,
for the VWAP candle break? So it's the same concept as like buying after a close of 56 cents on it, that kind of concept.
Okay. Yeah. Because I mean, if the candle didn't close, if let's say it forms a candle, then I mean it's just a rejection of VWAP, and that's not where you want to be at.
Yep.
You're gonna get killed. If let's say this is selling pressure after. It's the same thing.
Really appreciate your time and detail.
Yeah, no, that's cool. It's cool. It's all good. Okay. Yeah. Anyone else? Are you guys shy or something? Let me see. Maybe you guys are dropping DMs and shit, huh?
Can you hear me?
Hey, what up?
Hi. We can't text, I was trying to.
Yeah, no, sorry. I have to. I'm the host and I can't even text as well, so I don't know what the hell's going on. But I'm sorry about that.
Oh, that's all I wanted to say.
Okay. Oh, yeah, nah. I'm the host myself and I can't even text over here, so I don't know what's going on.
Okay.
It was okay just now. I don't know what's going on. Okay, so but if there's nothing, then I'll see you guys tomorrow. All right. I'm holding the rest of my SPR unless we lose 210 today. If not, I'm gonna swing the rest in tomorrow. All right. 10-minute structure is pretty nice. I don't see a need for us to close that. I mean, look at this. This thing is the thing of beauty. All right. It's very nice consolidation. All right. I told you guys this before. Consolidation doesn't mean that it's gonna go up. Right. It just means that it could either go up crazy or go down crazy. But at this point of time, if it goes up crazy, we have a lot of room to the upside. If it goes down crazy, I mean, how crazy do you want it to go, right? If it loses to 10, structure's broken, I'm done. So it's a pretty good risk reward from here. And also plus the daily chart is forming an inside bar structure. So, I have, multiple confluences on this, but if there's no volume tomorrow, it doesn't matter. But then again, I wouldn't know if there's going to be volume or not tomorrow. I have my setup. I just have to respect it and just, see what happens tomorrow. Yeah. All right. So last call, no questions.
No questions. Thank you very much, Jan.
Yeah, what's
Are
up?
we
Sorry.
sticking with Teams or just are we switching back to Zoom?
I know, man. Zoom is giving me FPS drop whenever I share my screen. It's like really bad. I have like 5 to 10 frames per second whenever I share my screen. It's, when I move it's like watching a slideshow when I try to move my screen around. So it's like recently happened like that. I don't know what's going on. Because my screen refresh rate is like 144 hertz, so it's not supposed to be like that. But whenever I do this Zoom screen share, everything just starts to have really low FPS.
Okay.
I have a question, actually.
Yeah, sure. Why not? Go ahead.
So, for mostly the small caps, when you want to set up a position, like, for example, SPRO, if I want to swing it for tomorrow morning, but I cannot set up a stop loss pre-market and after market. So how do you manage stop loss?
You have to be up. You have to be up. You have to be up. You have to be up and manually manage your position. That's just how it is.
But
when I'm asleep,
before 7 a.m. you can, let's say at 4 a.m. it goes down. How are you going to sell the position?
Do you so if I'm using a broker over here, right? Like for example, Thinkorswim, right? This broker, I don't have access to 4 a.m. trading on this.
Correct.
I would just have to wait. I can't do anything. I just have to wait 7. But I would say that unless this ticker does an offering, I don't think that anything is going to happen at 4 o'clock because this is not like a high volume ticker. Unless anything. Okay, the only thing that's going to cause it to drop is when there's bad news or there's an offering. If not, the amount of volume on this over here is probably going to be pretty slow and steady until it gets found.
Okay.
I mean, we could still get low volume sell-offs, right? Which is why, whenever I tell you guys for 4 a.m. positions, always make sure you have a 4 a.m. broker or any sort of overnight positions. But I think for this one, because this is more of a multi-day type setup, we should be fine. There is still that risk, all right? There is definitely still that risk, but I'm willing to take that.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, there's one more platform if you want to use other than Zoom and Meet. That's called StreamYard. Check it out if you like it.
Can I record StreamYard?
Yeah, StreamYard. Yeah, you can record and
man, I just paid Microsoft Teams because it's not like the meetings over here is gonna be limited to 60 minutes and stuff. I just paid them just now. What is StreamYard?
StreamYard has like unlimited things. It doesn't even have like 60 minutes thing.
But how is it? How am I supposed to put this? Do you guys have to create an account to join, or is it like very simple?
It's like very simple. You just gotta put your name and just join it. You don't even have to like admit it. I mean, you can change the settings if you wanna allow people and then admit it, but it can also get in. And specifically, this one is made for streaming your things, right? So it's much better than Zoom and all that stuff.
Okay, I'll check it out. I'll check it out during the weekends. Thank you for the suggestion. All right, that's good. I'm gonna check it out. If it's good, we will use that next week.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Hey, thank you, brother. Okay, all right. So
one more. Are we
yeah.
holding SBET overnighting it until
No,
it doesn't break down the 80?
As bet has lost its structure for me.
Okay, I see.
Yeah. So I mean you can hold down to 80, right? But we did have a nice move from 83 to 106. Again, you cannot expect this to make a 200% move from here, right? So just make sure to keep yourself paid. You want to hold on to it until it loses 80, go ahead. Just make sure not to give your profits back. Okay. Okay, all right. Have a good rest of the day, guys. I'll see you all tomorrow. Last day, trading week. Let's make it count. Cheers.